Alright, I'm going to show you guys how to make a juicer. This is going to be for a grapefruit, I think, because I really want to make a huge one for some reason. So again, start with coning up and down. If you're using large pieces of clay, what you want to do is probably cone up twice when you're coning, or 3 times, just to get the clay really high up. And then I suggest using the pinky method to push down with larger pieces of clay, because when you're using your thumbs, I don't know. I've heard it's harder to do, so if you're doing it, fine. If not, try my method. And then I'm going to center. And then what I'm going to do actually is make this wider, so I'm going to pull out like you would kind of a plate, and then I'm going to push it down. You only have to do this if you have a ton of clay. If you have a regular piece of clay, just push down more when you center to get the clay like lower. Because what we're going to do is start our wall probably like 2/3 from the center. And when we go down, we want to go down not all the way, but so that there's either a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch in the bottom, so I can make a foot. Okay, so I'm going to push this down, and that's about a 1/2 inch, so that's perfect. And then on the inside, you're going to actually push down all the way like you would with any cylinder you've ever made. But this gets tricky because if you watched any of my videos, and I still need to make a video about this, the space between your fingers when you pull the clay up should be like this. But that's when your bottom on the inside is high. Because our bottom on the inside is very low, it's the complete opposite. So when you squeeze for the first time, you're actually squeezing with your inside finger all the way down at the bottom, and your outside finger is at the bottom of your clay here, which makes it really, really difficult, but something to practice, I guess. Always new things to practice. And it might be easier just to use your thumb, like do the claw technique down in here to get that started. I don't know why this feels wrong right now. I'm not going to lie, it feels really wrong, but probably because of what I just said with the finger placement. And then I'm just going to pull this up. Oh, I forgot to open, that's why. Demos. All right, so you want to open that.
I was like, it's very
It's okay. So I'm all the way down at the bottom of the bat. Do the regular indentations and just bring them up. Oh, and you can also get rid of that double-walled looking thing at the top if you want, when you're like throwing and you get that weird like groove up here. Just pinch the clay and squeeze it. Sometimes you can just throw it out like I just did. And then we'll just keep throwing this, but remember the bottom, see right here, this is my finger pushing the clay out at the bottom, not the top, which is usually kind of like the opposite of what you do. And then towards the top, I'm actually evening out my fingers a little. This is really big. I don't need it this big, so I'm totally going to just cut this off. Probably around here. And then I'm going to slow down because it's wanting to get wider. And I'm going to pull in. And at this point, it's okay if you're just throwing the wall. Don't worry so much about the clay you're leaving behind at the bottom of the wall. It's not important to keep it all. You can trim it off. So I'm switching back to my regular throwing with the space between my fingers. And as you throw, just try and like bring the clay towards the center. That'll make your closing a lot easier. And so let's get to that. So just make sure the shape here is correct before you start throwing that and closing it, because once it's closed, we can only change a little bit. We can't change everything. So I just want to make sure that's curved. And now what I'm going to do is start closing. So I'm going to go about halfway and start necking in. And it's okay if I lose some of this clay, but I just want to make sure this closes. So, and this to me looks like a good volume for my grapefruit to go on, like, and squeeze off of. So I'm just gonna probably pinch this off, but just in case, I'm gonna throw it up a little to make it a little thinner, because I don't want it bunching too much. I'm just gonna cut it here. Bless you. And then I'm gonna push this up onto my finger. This is a lot like making a bottle at the beginning here. So if you want to know how to make a bottle, there's a video on that too. And what I'm going to do is now switch fingers and use my pinky finger and do the exact same thing. All I'm doing is narrowing this hole. And once I can't get any fingers in there, I'm just going to do the necking in again, pushing maybe like a 1/4 inch from the top, or a 1/4 way from the top to start necking. Don't worry too much about the shape, because there's a pocket of air in there, and now you can shape it really nicely. There we go. And now I'm going to make it real nice by using my metal rib and just smoothing. The metal ribs, you'd like to use 2 hands on them and hold them at the ends to make it smooth really nicely. And then we're going to throw the outer wall. So I would finish the whole inside first and then move to the outside. You can do it a little at a time if you want, but I don't know. I just like to get the inside nice and pretty. So what I'm doing is I'm just pushing in like my normal way that I would throw a cylinder and pulling slowly up. And because this cylinder is so much wider, you actually have to pull up and use your hands slower. So instead of just like, whoop, oh, there's my cylinder, now you have to go even slower. So there's a good balance of keeping the wheel speed going fast enough, but not too fast that it uses centrifugal force, because we want to try and get as much of this clay down here up as possible so we don't have to do a lot of trimming. So a slower, moderate speed is going to help do that, but just you're going to have to slow your hands down a lot more, because the clay has to move through your fingers once every pass to bring the clay up. And that actually feels really good. This is really tall and I don't need it that tall, but I don't know how much clay I actually want, so I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And I'm going to push it out like I would a bowl. And then I'm going to decide if I actually do want that or not. I might. Because imagine you could like squeeze like 3 grapefruits and then pour it out. That would be nice. But I actually don't drink grapefruit juice, so this, I don't know, maybe this is not necessary for me. And I totally nicked my little inner thing, which makes me sad. So, if you want, you could totally make a picture that this fits on, and I've done this before. And you could like make little holes all the way around the bottom on the inside of the foot and make a vase for the bottom and put it directly on top of the pitcher, and then juice it into a pitcher. I actually have one. I'll put a photo of that on the video. But so what I would suggest then is making like a little notch for the juice to come out. So you just kind of pinch the wall and pull to get that. And then for this part, I'm going to do this before I trim. You want to start getting the grooves to begin. I don't know what you want to call these. The juicing channels. Channels for juicing. I don't know. I'm sure there's a term. I'm sure one of my students right now has it in their brain. Nope. Nope. If anyone knows, they can put it in the comments. I know someone does. So what I like to do is I like to do it in quarters first. I'll spin it all the way around and do the opposite side and just pull straight up. And I always put it across. And then what I do is I'll divide these and put the next one in the middle of that. And that's kind of how I distribute these lines. And what happens is when this actually dries and I do trim it, I will make these even more pronounced. Because I forgot to do that on my said pitcher with juicer on top, and now that isn't very useful because I can't actually juice on it, sadly. But yeah, you live and learn, and then you make less mistakes, I guess. So you could watch me do this all day, but I'm gonna let my students go to work, and I'm just gonna finish this silently. And then, so thank you for watching, and stay to the end if you want to see how this turns out.